Welcome to my lovely IHP community and the 5D Collective. And to those who are new, the 5D Collective are a bunch of mystics and mindfully living and loving people who own their sense of self, and they have earned or just plain old secure attachment, and their child parts are asleep, and or they're working with somebody to have them be asleep. So they navigate the ventral vagal state and or want to, which is why mindfulness, mindset, and mindset practices and skills, that which I offer through the podcast, through the content creation, and through the mentorship that I offer. Okay, so you're able to make use of it, which is where also those of you who are of our spiritual group, you are bountiful in the experiences that ascension energies provide. Okay, so I'm going to read to you on this portal. For the ones who are of our 5D collective, all moves smoothly. For the ones who are going to be given the opportunity to expand, that's where they get to contemplate how they're handling that which arises, the emotional charges and the mental charges, and if they are putting mindset, mindfulness, and mind sight into practice, all of which is led by a higher grown-up self, not their teenage self, then they're going to expand. And that's because they own their sense of self, so they have integrity. They're being their true self, okay? They're not a pause self who needs Patrick Tiahan or a Pat Ogden or a good therapist to work through first. All that will come up so that they can become a truly discerning person who then has healthy boundaries and does not do characterological distinctions or judge, as judgment is charged. So while people use words differently, you might use judgment with discerning, I'm just using it to say you don't do casting of stones. Here, it's whole, open-hearted. You're able to process any emotion that comes up from your non-reactive ventral vagal state because you're not a teenager in the protective fight response. Okay? So you're open to connection consistently. Like Jesus taught me, forgive, they don't know. And Stephen Porges confirms biologically rude people do not know that they are regulated in their threat response and that they have maladaptive patterns of behavior and adaptive child parts leading the way. The non-bilaterally integrated person, 4D, 3D, has made their choice, and we leave alone because it's not a threat to anything. Earth is doing great and dandy, and there's no battle going on. God always wins, love always wins, and recalibrating to our new normal is what we're noticing. And so with great attachment trauma educators, we all understand embodying. Your restorative embodiment is your mammalian heritage and where your body and mind are looking to go, which is why anybody who's against you healing your own childhood trauma doesn't want your well-being. And anyone who is upset at there being new information on how to handle parenting, a third attunement, repairing ruptures, understanding why compassion is important, why the ventral vagal state is important, again, they're just refusing sciences and information that is bountiful out there. And so on this, again, lovely 111 portal, all the way through the 113 portal, full moon, ascension energies bring empowered feminine and masculine together. And that's where, number one, let me go in a little bit of a list. That way you can hear. You take what is of value for you. If you have questions, you ask. If these are questions, hey Maria, can you expand on the concept? Those will be made freely available. If you want a practical video exercise, mindset, mindfulness, or mindset, you make that specific and you become a paid subscriber of Fanbase or of Spotify or other podcast platform that you'll find IHP on. And wait a minute, there was another thing I was going to say and I lost it though. Yes, the Ask Maria, the opinionated calmness episode version. So that's where, hey, dear Abby, but it's dear Maria. So I got this situation going on, but you keep all those private details private, make up new names, and that's because I support with self-help, personal development, the spiritual mindful journey, okay? And what I get to share with you all when it comes to spiritual and spirituality is my subjective experience as I got to gain clairs and move through it with a 5D, what I call body type, because I have a self that is owned by me. And so I didn't lose myself. And that's thanks to God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, but also my first 3 years of life, my first state, and so my household. And here's why Robert Sapolsky was determined. He points out that we have no free will. I beg to differ, but I don't have to. I just know that those of us who are able to be ourselves mindfully and or spiritually are a whole self who will know love and flow, and so we use good stress in life and in our relationships. And like Sadhguru shares, we know about the intelligence of love. If there's love in your heart, it will guide you through your life. Love has its own intelligence. Thank you, Sadhguru. And so definitely on today we honor love and life and you and I and humanity. As all of the smart brains come together on YouTube, and as for those who are fake leaders, because I heard this term, you learn that leader is really also a term that gets, you will pick who you find is your type of leader. We still will have 3D40, the people who do not want to heal human suffering. I'm talking about their inner child, okay? And I know who those people are, the fancy man and woman suit. They're holding the plane, what do you want to call it, for the ones who don't want to go to therapy. And I've met plenty of people, because we'll do another quote. The non-bilaterally integrated brain is a person who doesn't welcome their whole self until they do, because they notice that their mannerisms are not healthy for them or their surrounding. And it's the thoughts, it's the imagination, it's all the dark sides of neuroplasticity, it's all of this. And that's because they lack compassion. You'll hear them. They don't know how to even use it with each other, because they'd rather shame, do revenge, and bully each other, spite, all of that, which isn't, again, a Lucifer. It's a person who has the capacity to project what happened to them from their 08. So one-to-one and together, society, you find a group of people who influence each other. I reminded you all about the teenagers, anybody who was one, unkind, cowards, all liars, promising each other things that they never kept. That's my experience. And then I said, you know what? Okay, that makes sense though. I'm going to choose love, kindness, and my herd. And people say I'm picky. I say no. And then they say you're selective. And I say, well, actually, you know how intelligence works, right? Physical, emotional, mental, meaning healthy self-worth. When you got it, you ain't going to put it to the side because of what? I owe someone something? I didn't realize that I owed Diego's family from Ice Age anything. When you have people who are envious, jealous, spiteful, they have low self-esteem. These are not empowered anyones, and they are all disappointing masculines, which involve distorted feminines, and they involve all of that, which is toxic relationships. And go to Patrick Tan, you'll find out more. So when I see 3D40, I'm not impressed, but it's also not Lucifer. When I see those leaders who are holding the plank, or whatever it's called, the plane, I know exactly who it's for. It's to the same people who don't want to have compassion in the forefront, and who want to keep pointing a finger and judging and casting stones at people like me, or at people like anyone. Reiki, Akashic Record reader, tarot card, oracle reader. Let's go find out how many people welcome us, shall we? We got a theologian who decided to go and disrespect completely an entire heritage of Reiki, calling it bad energy. We got another bunch of people completely disrespecting scientists and decentralization of the self, which is explaining to you how the biology of your human body works for no other reason except for they don't have a brain that works, because non-bilaterally brains don't work. They're not intelligent. They're non-bilaterally integrated. The other people, they like to have their, again, stories. We don't do narratives. I like to notice that if you got a smart one, you're going to notice. You got a stupid one, you're also going to notice. And that's why they don't know who they are, because, ego, it's blind. Again, there's so many ways. People make up stories to allow themselves to keep in, and it's really sad. I'm going to leave it alone. So leave alone people who navigate life with fear. They will stay cowards. They will stay unkind. That's why they're the biggest cowards of all, as they learn nothing except for we want to maintain the projecting, traumatizing patterns of behavior from our threat response with each other. And we allow ourselves to be non-reactive, and really they won't come near us because they won't want to be near our ventral vagal energy. Positive is something that will have them shy away, and that's because we're all nervous systems. And if you choose that you want to lock in to your protective one, not connection, you're going to stay isolated and in a small, sad world, and away from anyone who is instead expanded in a I love connection world. And so that's how people who don't want to expand to be their true self, and they stay with the paused self, They don't become real. They don't become genuine. They just continue being Cusco, who even at the end of the movie lies to Pacha. It's unimpressive masculines with distorted feminines. So again, they don't represent anything different except for what we've already seen, and movies keep it alive too. So I, again, like to share, you have free will, in my personal subjective opinion. That's because we have smart people who are knowledgeable and sharing with you how to own your brain, mind, your body, and your whole self. And here you get to become more of yourself because of putting it into practice. Bilateral, vertical, overall integration. And you are part of the circle of compassion. But you remember, the circle of compassion does not work and does not move the energy of life if one person is missing. And that person is not you necessarily. Again, if you're a whole heart, it's not you. It's anybody who doesn't have self-compassion and self-love. Jack Cornfield, PhD, but you can't make them want to go and get their childhood stuff healed. And so, again, empowered feminines and masculines, we hang out with each other and we leave alone those who don't want it. Janina Fisher, PhD, as soon as a diagnosis is given, the behavior is pathologized rather than understood. Good therapists do not give you a diagnosis. They give you psychoeducation, the smart ones of now. The ones who want to keep you boxed up keep telling you that personality disorders are not healable. They obviously don't know Dr. Daniel Fox. And anybody who keeps using the word Lucifer or battles of wars and all that other stuff, again, they got a story going on. So please don't dehumanize your lovely brothers and sisters. Allow yourself to remember that that's the part of what makes the 5D collective Christ's consciousness. He walked with all, talked with all, taught me how to forgive. So did the Holy Spirit, and so did God. And I have my mother to thank for honing it all in. And so Robert Sapolsky, if he would want to say it's not about God, it's about my 3-year-old brain, I'm okay with that because I do know where I come from. And I know myself. And so I'm not ashamed of any of it. But I do have blind faith, so you can't take that away from me. And you can't take it away from anybody who does have it. I'm laughing because I'm thinking of my teenage boyfriend who argued with me as I'm telling him I feel it in my bones, and the only reason he doesn't believe is the same reason why anybody else will have bullshit sentences coming out of their mouth. And I'm going to leave it all alone because right now I'm not going to do any storytelling. I want to keep sharing with you all as these portals. And then we're going to have some story later because we're going to be talking about wholeness. I love to love, and my baby, he loves to dance, and he loves to learn and expand and not cast stones and stay open-hearted with me and give me a pocket full of starlight in the darkness of the night as we tap each other on the shoulder and say, ooh, ooh, ooh. Catch a falling star and put it in your pocket. Never let it fade away. Save it for a rainy day. It's raining here. And then, if you love taps on the shoulder on some starless night, you got a pocket full of starlight to hand over to someone. And that's where the empowered feminine and masculines are. It's really fun, unlike the 12-karat gold and ring stuff. Okay, so be yourself mindfully, spiritually. This is the joy you're getting to have, the whole self, love and flow, and using good stress in life and relationships. So you've gotten really comfortable with knowing how to navigate your nervous system and your mind. And that's with an integrated brain, okay, bilateral and vertical and all of it. So mindfulness, mindset, and mindset practices support you. So you're enjoying more flow. And that's why Debdana and Stephen Porges, as I was sharing again yesterday, share positive emotions can have a dysregulating effect on people who are comfortable in protection. That means a threat response like the fancy lady, and not connection. It can involve, I'm adding a bunch of things, so I'm not quoting them directly. I'm giving you the gist of what you'll find out from them. It can involve anyone who doesn't heal trauma and dysregulation that has their adaptive child patterns of behavior, so they want to keep being Cusco, moody, and using then maladaptive, unhealthy self-soothing mechanisms like drinking, the drugging, the fucking, inner outer critic, and therefore the dark sides of neuroplasticity and ruminating. And so in that biochemistry, they're just going to keep on being in a unfortunate fear, yucky chemistry. And their body is with distress. And so it's like the Zen master's laundry. And that can be gotten rid of, but their thinking processes, they don't work on the maladaptive. So they don't work to get the good sides. No, they say, how dare they use positive wording, like the Zen master again. Instead of understanding the way that you explore something is what's going to help you to get out of the protective mode. But if you are honing in on it because that's your small, sad safety comfort without having the psych education. That's your safety comfort, because you were left all alone and you didn't have a ventral vagal energy, mom, dad, sister, brother, whatever it is. So you only know that, which is what's comfortable, but your body, your heart longs to have connection, because you're not meant to live life that way. And you're not meant to have suffering either. But we got an avoidant who goes on screen letting us know she's not going to do journaling, mindfulness, meditation, or therapy because people are fucked up. Why bother? And there's your narrative. So when you meet people who make up excuses so that they can stay in their small, sad, suffering world, you know that they don't want to go and heal their 0 to 8-year-old. So they're the cowards that are leaving alone their health because they refuse to be objective with the truth, which is you're healable if you go and do the work with the willpower with a good therapist, and so that, or at the very bare minimum, your own capacity to be aware, accountable, and regulate in the ventral vagal, and disengage from maladaptive patterns of behavior, drinking, fucking, drugging, again, all that, the negative thinking, the shaming, blaming, faulting, revenging, the pent up anger or sadness or disgust, surprise, fear. Those are all those 6 basic human emotions you want to, with a healthy way, self-soothe. Healthy way you get to feel those feelings. You journal because it can help you, but that's why mindset is important, because you don't want to do it with a good, bad. The black-white thinking doesn't help you to actively process the charged emotion or the thought, and people don't want to hear it. So again, we do not impose on anyone to choose their health. In fact, the fancy lady in a suit wields her words so well for those who don't want it that she says, it's dangerous to have no emotion. It isn't true that it's inherently healthy or enlightenment to be non-reactive. And she's not an expert like Stephen Porges or Debdena. In fact, she ignores completely the nervous system, as does that other fancy man in suit. And yes, Stephen Porges is still building his data, but the point is it's working to support other people in their well-being. And so, once again, anyone who doesn't want to live mindfully and or spiritually as their whole self with love and flow and good stress in life and relationships might not want to be around you. This is what the message, okay? And so you don't do anything except for recalibrate yourself to the best of your ability and stay anchored. That's your opportunity. And in fact, you just handle removing yourself from the situation in a way that involves no kind of confrontation because it's unnecessary. That's where the lady, she wants to stay charged because that's how she wants to handle her own life. So owning the sense of self is how you're going to maximize psychic gifts and gain spiritual mastery initiated by ascension energy. So right now with the portal, there's stuff that, again, is coming up. If you own your sense of self, because you don't lose yourself in the decentralization process, you expand the state of consciousness of you. And that's why yourself is a verb, not a fixed noun, as Dr. Daniel Siegel has taught me, when you're an integrated brain. And I know all about it because that's what my brain is. So myself, when my 1-year-old wants a hug, I hug myself, but I don't talk about it as my 1-year-old. When my 3-year-old comes up, when my 8-year-old, and I can tell when they're coming up. Okay, so I just know how to safe haven, secure base, how to self-soothe my nervous system and regulate it. And that's because, as Ogden points out, this is what you want to know about those of us who do not have trauma. So a non-traumatized person with a secure attachment has the capacity to regulate independently of relationships. And see, people who don't know this, they actually think, is there a non-traumatized person? Because they think that everyone has trauma. Now, we all have our trauma charges, child parts. But if you have had a healthy, self-regulating body and you knew how to process emotions and thoughts, neutrality and duality, and so you use mindset, mindfulness practices, kind intention. I learned all about that in my catechism. Open heart, in the state of awareness. I got emotions. I don't have any bad relationship. I'm not cut off from my emotional planes. I'm not afraid to feel. Oh, and look, I can focus my attention on myself. Those are the 3 pillars of the mind, as Dr. Daniel Siegel explains to me in a number of courses, and that's what is part of mindfulness. With mindsight, it's because you pick up on everything that's within you. I have that because I have a good relationship with my body. Because my insula is not underactive due to the fact that I have healthy, self-regulating child parts, okay? As I learned it from a mother and a twin, my environment, which is where Robert Sapolsky comes in again. And so there are non-traumatized people. because we do mindfully living and loving practices all the time. The Zen master apparently doesn't know how to work charges, so he calls it laundry. And so people who ignore that there's a charge don't know yet how to witness, process, own, observe, witness, narrate, and process that which arises from a bilaterally, vertically. So they don't own their body, as Peter Levine would say, if you can't contain it. But if you can, great. Now you can process, witness, and let go of things. And so that's why there's a process to your self-expanding. And Patrick McNamara talks about decentralization of the self. So for the 5D collective of secure self mystics and mindfully living and loving people who own their sense of self, they pursue spiritual mastery since they're able to maximize psychic gifts and the spiritual process initiated by ascension energies. Now, if you're not a person who wants to talk about psychic gifts, just so you know, the scientists look into our stuff, the flow state and all that. So I don't remember all the words, but it doesn't have to be called psychic gifts, spiritual gifts. For those of us who are of that plane, though, I've seen past lives. I've seen my future, a lot of them, past lives. Future, one of my future lives. And I know that I could see more if I wanted to. As an Akashic record reader, I don't have to. I'm not one of those who gets lost in these lifetimes, but it's really nice. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's not about night. I remember when I had my first 3 lifetimes that I saw. That was magical. And then I saw 1, 2, 3, 4 more. Yeah, I saw a bunch of them. And then, I mean, really, it's amazing. And at a certain point, in a matter of 1 day, I go and come back, or maybe 2. I'm like, I don't even know how many, but had to be like in the 50s, hundreds. I don't know, because it was like a movie clip. Okay, so that's the other part about a 5D body type, is what I call it. When you're grounded in a person who has their whole self, solo self, narrative, core, all of this, no charges, non-traumatized person, you're not sensing and seeing the images or having affects, meanings, behaviors overwhelm your nervous system. The only part, the panic attacks, but that's as my light body expanded, and that's explainable by one of my courses. Light body, rainbow body, the Kundalini awakening. I had 2 different moments of that, and that was fascinating to say the least. But I'm going to continue reading. So, anyways, you can ask again questions if you're curious. I did do an episode yesterday on the Kundalini awakening, so you can understand the difference for those of us who are in the 5D collective. Again, every time we have ascension energies, we're manifesting more of ourselves because we didn't lose any part. And so, well, I shouldn't use the word manifesting, but you're becoming more of the pure consciousness state that you're embodying, because you have that integrity, your value body, your heart body, your energy, your mental, your physical. Okay, so you're a healthy, self-worth human being. You have no, how dare you, I'm going to block you. Okay, none of that. You're not one of those people, and that's something that I'm going to make sure you don't look to the past and think, I had some evil karmic with me, I had some evil asshole, I had some evil bitch, evil whore, whatever. You don't do that. That's not part of your lingo. It's not part of your gut. It's not part of your heart. And if ever it was, you got it healed with a therapist, and you're open to compassion completely. And this is because there is no battle, that we have duality to expand consciousness, and we won't talk about it right now. That's a whole different story, and it'll be in the future. Let me continue for our portal. And again, you don't lose yourself as you are being given the opportunity to access more of the spiritual process you are. And in the decentralization process, you don't lose yourself. You expand self-consciousness and grow intelligence thanks to having and continuously pursuing mental, emotional, and physical mastery. And so as ascension energy waves initiate these psychic gifts and spiritual awakening, and they further your spiritual capacity to master what's coming up, it's only going to happen, the mastery, if you're a securely attached self, because you own the sense of self. And with that, you own it through the mind and brain that has bilateral, vertical, and overall integration, and a body in a state of safety anchored in ventral. So when shit comes up, you ain't offline. You're not alert, and destabilized, which is instead where 4D are at. I've seen them more times than not. And in fact, they continue reading when energies come about with conspiracy type lingo, like all the hijackers and timeline jumper people who are infiltrating our energy force are going to come out into the open. I mean, the seriousness. Oh, they got some stories for you. I was going to try and watch one of them. You know what? No, I can't watch this. It's a waste of my time. So I have courses, other material, smart people to learn from. But just so you understand, they continue to think that there's energy vampires, dark auras, and stuff going on because they experience those images that come up with a brain that has a fear receptor that goes wonky, as Patrick McNamara points out, and they don't go to heal their nightmares with a good therapist because they think that the therapists are bad and want to get rid of their gifts, and they think that there's actively bad entities coming, and so they're all over their story, not caring about regulating in their ventral vagal and actively healing their brain that is trying to heal from trauma memory in the first place, and to allow themselves to understand you can't lose anything. Not to mention they're not gifts. It's part of your human makeup. There's a sphere. Scientists, again, look into it. So you don't lose. Here's where blind faith comes into the mix. The minute you're actively thinking you could lose your relationship to the world that is a part of you, of faith, you don't lose that because you go and take care of your mental health and your body and your brain, and you go and... So people who are spiritual ego and bypassers, that's why I have consistently noticed you don't know Jesus or God or Holy Spirit. The minute you tell me you're anointed and special, you don't know Jesus or God, and you're playing God. The minute I hear, oh yeah, I make my content the way I make it because I'm the one who's giving you the higher activation keys to your higher supernatural self. Aha, I see. Without you, I don't access me. Wow. You own this shit. I see. You don't know who God is, do you? In fact, actually, here, let me tell you another one. So when people are in love with their stories this way, not knowing that, God, again, is bigger than any one of us, so you don't play God. Nobody needs to be proven that divine intervention happens, because we all know if you have faith, it will happen. And guess who wins? There's no battle going on, because there's only one winner, and we all know, again, with those of us who do believe. Now, some of you, too positive. Not really. I'm not being positive right now. Trying to let you know my belief is God, blind faith. I don't play God. From a humanly grounded brain who has blind faith, I already know, and I have a direct relationship. Therefore, I don't buy into the illusion of good, bad. It's like the good cop, bad cop, the split thinking of the dumb brains. That's how I consider it. You're dumb if you actively think there can ever be a God that loses. Like, just saying. Like, I mean, really. Also, that you would be needed for Earth to keep moving forward, or for any of your brothers or sisters to access their spiritual gifts. You're also egoic. So ego is completely blinded to itself because people don't notice their low self-esteem. And then their contradiction to saying, I have faith, but then their fear of God not winning something that instead we all know. And then, the merry-go-round. Okay, so the humorous part is when you're hearing people that are really smart go into it in a certain way. But I need to leave it alone, because I heard another person who was talking about this, and the way they were talking about it, I was like, you didn't hear what you just said, did you? This infinite and I'm like, yep, double infinity. I got it right here. Oh, empowered feminine here. You can't pull the wool over the eyes of a child that doesn't break. That's what an empowered feminine is. It's a solo, whole self, and I ain't alone, and I don't have a hole in my heart. I'm a whole heart. Oh, it's called secure attachment. It's the most amazing. This is why imagination, the bright sides. But like I said, it's not just imagination. So 5D Collective, please welcome aboard, because I'm sure you were dying for this, FYI, for somebody to say, hey, how is awesome your portal? Is it going great? Because I know every time I was hearing the 4D talk about portal, I'm like, okay, sure, we're going to become invisible. Okay, then. And I still remember when I was out with a 4D, And they think that we are not going to be seen as we're reading coffee cups out in the open. And I'm hoping and praying that we don't get kicked out of this place, because, you know, it's one thing to have some cards with you and doing tarot, is another. Let me read. And this story was fabulous, though. The man, he honored us in the sense of he left us alone. He just got curious, and that's a man of integrity. I told some stories with this man in mind, and some stuff that's taken place. Okay, so thanks to your internally securely attached self state, you engage in your prefrontal cortex in moments of spiritual ascension and decentralization of the self. And this is why you don't get lost in the process. Please remember, I'm labeled pseudoscience lady for a reason, but I connect the dots because I'm learning from all these smart human beings. And there's always going to be words I forget and fuck up. And I do a consilience approach because I'm using two sides of my brain, and I don't get lost because my left doesn't lead. The people who get lost, it's not you getting lost. It's that your left is linear and doesn't like sciences and spirituality touching each other, and then it wants it all to be organized, and that's called a control human being who doesn't know the rainbow, and that's a person who needs first Patrick Tiahan and not me. And that is all. Okay, so here's the lovely 5D collective. Their integrated brains is what I'm trying to say. So my support, extra food for thought for these portals are for people who are navigating the flow state, and then you add mindset, mindfulness, and mindset practices because you can do more. Like I said, you're happy to hear somebody who's giving you something a little bit more relatable, if you will, because there's another lady I heard. I mean, she is hilarious too, but I got it. I got what she was bringing. It's astrology. It was really awesome to hear. So what we can expect this year. Okay. So the reason why you don't get lost in the process is because of that prefrontal. You don't have unresolved childhood trauma that comes up with yourself. You don't have anything that is from your past. And even if stuff does come up, you still know how to handle the emotions because you contain it. So you have a conversation. You don't have a story, inner critic, outer critic. You don't ruminate. You have, okay, you're exploring something that's happening. That's why inner growth. And so you don't have unprocessed charged trauma from past events or betrayal wounds that have taken place in your life. So if you have a lover that lied to you and or more, you're not like, oh my God, it doesn't keep coming up. And then you're using that story in whatever you're exploring, okay? And that's what we want to continue with. So for these reasons and more, the 5D collective, mystics and people, mindfully living and loving people, maintain a state of flow during the expansion of consciousness, and self and intelligence take place with ascension energy waves activating psychic gifts and spiritual awakening experiences and events. Okay, so this is a bunch of words that mean whenever ascension energies come about, you've grown more of yourself and intelligence, and I'll explain in a minute, because with self-awareness, accountability, and regulation in your ventral vagal, and so in your ventral energy, you're in a love energy because you're secure to be yourself as you're contemplating and feeling, okay? Number one, that's why you can do mindfulness immediately, not later, and not with the Zen Master's laundry. You have mindfulness on. I'm focusing the attention. I got shit going on. It's not weighing me down. I'm in my ventral energy. I'm safe. I'm having images or sensations come up, and the affects and the meanings and the behaviors. You have the psych education and you have the whole self. So again, you know how it works, and you're not talking about it in a way of it being something that you want a reward for. Okay, so I deserve a medal because I know how to work through stuff that's coming up. So this feeling of I deserve a medal is something that involves I'm going to call it the 0-1 for, I don't know, child part. It's a child part who's still looking outside, wanting to be rewarded for having worked with their emotional, mental, and physical plane, which I can understand. But I'm trying to break it down to you so you can understand what it means to get internally, completely securely attached. It's like when Dr. Dan says, my 1-year-old wants a hug, I don't say it, I give myself a hug. So as you empower yourself in your ventral vagal, this is organically, it's why you're an inner child adult. You don't say, oh, they didn't give me a hug. Last time you will have done any of this, for me, I don't remember what was, the last time I was a bit like upset about one of my friends not giving me something that I wanted. I just said, what are you doing? She gave you her opinion. Why would you want it to be different? Okay, so you're able to handle that. Some people have less empathy, compassion. You call it what you want, and actually, compassion is better than empathy because you're in your prefrontal. Empathy, instead, you're not calibrating your nervous system to your ventral. You're calibrating it to another person, which is then why you're going to get tired because you're actually regulating to the person who is destabilized and upset instead of you saying, I'm in my ventral, having my mask on, can go help other people. And that's the part of where in the prefrontal you say, okay, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do. And what you can do is give words of comfort, hug. You cannot obligate them to activate their ventral if you're giving them a hug. So some people, get away from me, what do you want? That is something you can leave it alone. Because why? Because you can if you're an inner child adult. If you're not, then you're like, oh, that's so rude. And that's things we go through as we're growing up. That you learn how to be a grown-up is what I'm giving you. At least that's organically how my stuff went through processes. Okay? And so, again, a little bit this and that. With the self-awareness, accountability, and regulation in your ventral energy, you're able to use your inner growth mindset again. Mindfulness and mindset skills and practices to enjoy the expansion of yourself, the exploration of your thoughts, and the processing, witnessing, narrating, and the releasing of emotions that come up from the body, including sensations, images, affects, meanings, and more. I told you about an experience I had with this. It was done. And I, in fact, was laughing by the time I was done contemplating. And really, I was having a conversation with God as this was happening. Oh, I was like, okay, you gave me a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What the hell, man? You know, like and it wasn't let me yell at you. It was like, okay, I know what's happening. Why don't I have the rest of this? And no, I'm being big on purpose. But the point is that by the time I'm done, I'm like, okay, you're done being a complainer about whatever the hell you're complaining about. Get over it. And it's always very easy. Because compassion is easy. Because you're not crapping on yourself for having a moment. You're not calling it laundry, Zen Master. Okay, so as functional child adults who are secure in who we are and where we're going, the 5D collective of mystics and mindfully living and loving people expand. And we don't let the spiritual process go to our head or cause disruptions in our life and relationships. We grow more compassionate, intelligent, and continue being ourselves mindfully and spiritually with flaws and integrity in life, the world, and our relationships. Own sense of self to maximize psychic gifts and gain spiritual mastery initiated by ascension energies like this portal, the full moon coming up, and the 5D collective. Welcome aboard. You, if you are feeling it, we cultivate expansion of consciousness, intelligence, and we build genuine relationships as our whole self. So welcome to Healthy Adult Life and Relationships. For one-to-one mentorship, you can email me. And for future masterclass and spiritual workshops and retreats, sign up. And then remember, for mindset and mindfulness, to grow confidence and handle change with good stress, since you're anchored in ventral and want more of that, you can subscribe to IHP on YouTube and Fanbase onto Spotify or other podcast platform. Remember, the practical video exercises is what will roll out as we get to a number that I'm going to decide of subscribers, and those will include inner growth mindset, potentially mindfulness and mindset practices and skills that you can use to grow confidence and, again, handle change with good stress. So more to be continued. And thanks for joining us here at IHP. Again, we are a group of people who want to support each other in personal development, self-help, spiritual and or mindful living and loving practices, and enjoy what is fun. I love to love, and my baby, he loves to dance, and he loves to learn, expand, and not cast stones, and it's really fun with people who are lovers. And I get to bring together human, spiritual, and spirituality elements to explore human evolution and consciousness. So stay tuned for more. We are going to be back later, in a little bit, with more topics and stories, actually, and it's on wholeness. So wholeness means you have no longing for love. You are love, and you do know intimacy, passion, and connection. And that's where we're going to talk some more about the empowered feminine and masculine coming together. Again, 111 portal through the 113 full moon. Whatever's going on, it's a good day for you, and it's a good day for me, and for the ones who are not opting to learn to use their ventral vagal or to join us and to join therapy, whatever it is. I mean, we can only share our best wishes, hoping that they learn how to handle their humanity And believe me, they will settle in. So if they don't choose to expand consciousness, eventually they're going to be in those vaults, because the body and the brain will not want them to suffer. So they will simply have, like the fancy lady man in suit, a bunch of people that they go and hang out with. And we, again, don't have to all be friends together. We follow the laws. We respect each other's physical space. And as for mental and emotional also, you don't go ever into anything with the intent to be spiteful, hurtful, da da da. If somebody is upset at you for using the wrong word, whatever it may be, you know how to be respectful, and you choose that. So you choose the practice of non-reactivity when you're interacting with somebody who doesn't know that their lack of self-awareness, accountability, and regulation is their biologically rude adaptive child coming into the room. And it'll be very clear if you are a 5D collective mystic and or mindfully living and loving, again, person when it's happening, because your nervous system, like I am. And so you're going to automatically be recalibrating because, like I said, you're in a physiological state of compassion. So you're not tuning into their nervous system. You're present and tuning into yours. You were good 1 second ago. You're resonating with them. Your guitar string, though, doesn't have to go into that. And so with recalibration comes, we can chit-chat and trust, and that's great. And if not, we can, bye, see you later, thanks for, and there you go. So again, we'll be back in a little bit. Have a good one.